Hey, it's Soul, and welcome back to another episode of Warcraft Weekly, the show that cannot possibly ignore what has happened, or is still happening. We got to see both the best and the worst of us this week, with EU Guild Echo bringing the title of World First back home after a decisive and stunning kill of Sylvanas in the mythic Sanctum of Domination raid. This was closely followed by US Guild Limit, and then EU Guild Pieces, US Guild Big Dumb Gaming, and most recently EU Guild Method, which I ought to point out has survived after basically imploding due to abuse allegations, with a culture of tolerance of that sort of behavior within that organization. And that's kind of nice. Okay, not what happened, but what happened afterwards. Just the day before this recording, a massive lawsuit was filed against Activision Blizzard and 10 specific unnamed individuals by the Department of Fair Employment and Housing, an entity within the state of California. And the suit is a lengthy list of allegations of sex discrimination, harassment, and a so-called frat boy culture within the company that has supported this behavior for years. The suit was filed after conducting a 2-year investigation, meaning that this was a problem well beforehand, and that after the investigation, discussions between this entity and Blizzard fell apart, leading us to, well, right now. So I believe that the allegations are true, even if the suit itself, which I read to the best of my ability, uses language and bias that's really appropriate. It's appropriate being the plaintiff, right? And Activision Blizzard put out a pretty fierce rebuttal to the filing, which was, again, just as biased and appropriate given it's a defense of the clients. The direct allegations of abuse do not seem to be in question. It's more like the response, or the inadequate response, that is central to this suit. The rest of this stuff, the shock value, that's there for, well, just shock value and point. And I'm not going to get into those. I think we all know what they are, but if you're not sure, I'm going to have a link to that in the description. And you know what? I hope that they get them. Every last one of those little shits, all right? Because those individuals, along with who knows who else, is complicit. They've risked compromising the rest of Blizzard's staff and its fans, many of who I'm sure are really shaken. You don't have to look very far at all on social media to see reactions of outrage and disappointment and loathing and more. It's a bit of a twisted irony after the near instant purging of folks like Swifty and the original voice actor for Kael'thas. The latter, I think, was resolved, but that's a minor detail. Alex Afrasiabi, who was previously least liked for just saying that the Burning Legion existed across all timelines for some reason, is now known as the guy with the Cosby Room. Wow. But he also managed to just shuffle out of Blizzard and into obscurity in 2020, apparently while this investigation was going on. It's important to note that Afrasiabi is of the old guard, since he's been there since the beginning of WoW, and obviously before this Activision Blizzard merge. I recall that the most recent in-person BlizzCon in 2019 was like a bit more woke, right? It was more about women and equality and inclusivity than ever, and that's cool. And I bet that was the start of what Blizzard was trying to do to be better. Again, this was in response and amid the investigation. And with the investigation and discussion, that probably resulted in Afrasiabi being ousted, like I said. And it clearly wasn't enough. Now that I can look back on that, I can say that of course it's not enough, that it was just an empty facade, and that real change needs to happen within the company, otherwise it doesn't mean anything. First and foremost, the change starts by holding these people accountable. And according to the suit, it didn't end with just one guy, and to be honest, it's probably not going to end with these 10 unnamed individuals. So Blizzard, I guess, acted quickly where it could externally, with Swifty and whoever, and that's good. But internally, there's like this, it's like a disease that can't be easily excised because it's rooted at the top, or rooted deeply, whatever, you know what I mean. Some would want to see Blizzard burn down for this, as in like the whole thing. I'm not surprised one bit, and these folks aren't even coming from a place that's just grr anti-Blizzard. They and many others look at the studio as hopelessly corrupt, and the only way to move on is for all of it to go down. Because now we've got to question just how rooted this culture of harassment and tolerance of harassment is. Like, how long was it there? Who knew and looked the other way? Or who knew and supported it or was even a part of it? Does it go back 2 years or 5 years or 10 years or more? And what were these more recent high-profile departures really about, I wonder? Like, were these people running away from a culture that they couldn't tolerate? Or were they running away from a reckoning that they knew was coming and they were hoping to distance themselves from it? Like, make a fresh start and pretend that it never happened. I read someone's reaction that, oh, hey, here's a chance for Mike Morhaime to buy Blizzard back and make it a part of Dreamhaven and make it great again, right? But now the seed's been planted in my head, this seed of doubt. Like, what did Mike know, right? Afrasiabi was clearly an aggressor, but it speaks to the obvious that this behavior, whether it's the action or the tolerance of these actions, it goes all the way to the top, to the old guard. Mike Morhaime, J. Allen Brack, Jeff Kaplan, Chris Metzen. Only one of them is at Blizzard anymore, but the rest, they're doing their own things. But were they complicit in this culture through their actions or inactions? It's really heartbreaking. It haunts you, and it compromises the fandom. That's just one bit that's got me pretty pissed off. It's that some of these people who left are probably just trying to get away with it. And I hope they don't. I hope they get freaking dog walked back to face the music. But of course, what about the rest? What about the whole of Blizzard? What about the world of Warcraft? What about you and me? What about the future of this channel? It's not going to surprise me, and I won't dispute anybody who wants to stop supporting Blizzard as it is by not playing its games or not making content for them. Because we want to, I imagine that we want to play and create things from a good mindset. I mean, never mind the ones who thrive off of like thrashing or trashing and negativity, but that's a totally different conversation. But we get into that whole notion of cancel culture, right? Which I see as the bandwagoning of a mindset. Like, we need to cancel this and that, and if you're not with us, you're against us. And I'm not for that. I'm not for infighting between fellow fans and gamers. So I'm not going to tell you what to do, other than to act on your convictions, but at the very least, to not judge others if they act differently than you do. I don't believe that just dropping support for the World of Warcraft is enough of a statement to encourage change, which sounds kind of weird, right? Talk with your wallet. That's what a lot of people say. But I feel like if I just walked away from the game, that's all I'd be doing. I'd just be walking away. The contributions that I've made to try and build a space for friendly discourse and discussion instead of the usual in-game vitriol, I don't know how effective it is. I don't know how effective it's been over the years, but if I left, those efforts, all that would be gone. Now, this is hyperbole, but if we were to apply this sort of canceling to every brand and company that's been under any sort of controversy, whether we know it or not, we'd stop working anywhere, and we'd stop buying nearly everything that's been a part of our lives. The cold reality is that most of the world is a little bit crappy, whether we see it in litigation or it goes on unreported, or worse, it's just plain accepted where it is. Like, that game that you want to jump to might have an even worse work culture behind it. But again, hyperbole, right? It's hardly fair to make people fear what they don't know as much or more than what they do know. World of Warcraft grew to be so much bigger than a handful of assholes and whatever they contributed to it. It ballooned, and now it's being built and maintained by hundreds of people. Thousands of people outside of Blizzard contribute through content creation and fan sites, and millions of people play. Maybe not all at the same time, but Canceling WoW just disperses all of that good that this game brought to the world. And without the accountability, it disperses those people elsewhere. The only lesson learned for them would be like, oh, next time I better make sure the victims are totally silenced. This isn't just a Blizzard thing. It's everywhere. It's just that Blizzard is still given more attention than other companies in situations like these, even if they might have done the same things or even worse, because Blizzard's tried to come off as like the good guy. I get that part. But also, we as fans have set that expectation, clutching our pearls oh so tightly when it's challenged. Maybe it's always been this way, but especially now, Blizzard might not be the worst company in the world, but it's just not special. It's just like the rest of them, and it needs fixing. I don't think people want to see more of the same platitudes and pledges from them for equality. I don't think we need to see another facade of fairness or whatever that I'm sure that well-meaning good people inside Blizzard put up, but all it does really is just hide the rot within that still isn't adequately checked. I don't want them to waste their breath with an apology. Okay, actually, I do want them to apologize, but in the same breath, I also want them to say that our people are making arrangements to ensure that we pay our folks equally. Here's what we're doing. Or we're taking harassment and retaliation seriously, and we've done XYZ to do it. We're holding people accountable, and we're putting them on the right path, or we're showing them the door. And here's the number of people that are already gone. It's shameful that this isn't asking for anything unreasonable. And to be frank, this is not going to happen overnight. It's just wishful thinking. And this is not a Blizzard thing. It's not just a games industry thing. It's everything. And we've got to be at least conscious of the inequality that we face and hope that this consciousness is being shared from the bottom up if we needed to report this. So I want Blizzard to bleed, but I don't want it to burn. I still have faith in the good folks who are still working super hard to make games for us, even though we're in this crisis where we can legitimately doubt who these good folks are. But I also believe in a redemption story, that even the bad roots can be excised so that the rest of the tree can heal. I believe that people can change and get better. Method Story is just one example. It's not even a complete example, but a small one of coming back better. So for now, at least, I'm not going to quit WoW or making content for it, but as I did in my New World preview just the other day, I'm going to consider branching out a little bit more. Because I spent all this time making my own little community. I have my little guild, and I'm not ready to abandon it. That's it. Now, you can, like I said, act on your convictions. You can quit WoW, you can block my channel, unsubscribe, whatever. I'm not going to judge you. More importantly, though, I just urge you to not turn on your fellow gamers based on their decisions. Of course, if you want to talk or vent, I'm here to listen. Feel free to do so in the comments. Just keep it civil, of course. And big thanks to the people who continue to support me, including Kat. Kind of a awkward time to be a new patron, but welcome. And lastly, if you're wondering about this footage here, this is from a sit-in on Worm Rest Accord to protest inequality within Blizzard and to fundraise for Black Girls Code, a nonprofit to teach young Black girls about computer programming and digital technology. I'm gonna have a link to its page if you're interested. So the gamer's journey, in the meantime, my journey is gonna continue, and I'll see you next week. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.